gasoline. Oh Lord, the city could burn down. We jamming still. We jamming still. The building could fall down. We jamming still. We jamming. Just hold them on.
Tell you, watch out, Marshall, watch out, Marshall. But that's the tune. You come a little too late with that one about what? Something about
beat it.
Beat it. Beat what? You gonna get some licks. All right. Let me welcome a very outspoken. He's not afraid to call the issues and speak directly. And I like when I hear you speak, Mr. Martin George, attorney at law. Good morning.
Good morning to you and good morning, Tobago, and happy Valentine's to all of Tobago and all the lovers out there, all the couples out there. You know, I mean, I think we need more love in this society.
Mm-hmm. Do you think, do we have love really? What is happening, Mr. George?
Well, the thing is, I think what has happened is we have strayed from our moorings in that if you think back to years ago, Tobago was known as a place where people would look out for each other. In other words, you know, they say it's the old African proverb, it takes a village to raise a child. So if you had a neighbor who saw a child doing something wrong, that neighbor would correct the child, would say, hey, listen, stop that, or, put a pinch on you or twist your hair and say, hey, look, stop that. And your parents would appreciate that.
Of course.
Your parents will commend the neighbor for that.
Yes.
Now it has reached a scenario where the neighbor can't even speak to the child because the parents will come out and, start to curse the neighbor and, make a fuss. So therefore, you have a scenario where children have basically been allowed to run amok. So therefore, what we've done is we've created and nurtured little monsters in our homes, and they just grew bigger and bigger over time.
All right. But George, during the break, we were talking about, I just mentioned, we spoke about you being an attorney, and you chose to go that route. Now, in your home, I spoke about Crown Court.
Yeah.
And you said you remember, and I asked you, did you want to be a lawyer from that time? You said no. Now, during that time of your growing up, we're staying there, because that's where you were. Mm-hmm. What you just spoke about was the love, That neighbor had love for that child.
Yes.
That child is not her child or is not his child.
That's right.
However, there is a desire to see those children grow. So parenting was not just to the parent in the home.
That's right.
But
it was a communal effort.
It was a communal effort.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So let's come home to what the bitterness and the anger. What is contributing to the hate that is talking our land? Given the home issue, further to that, or added to that, what is contributing to this?
Well, I think it's because of a lack of guidance starting. We can't escape the home. And then in the wider society, they are not getting that either because, as I said, even in the community, those who may have been looking out for you, they are not because either they're concerned with their own affairs or whatever, or they're afraid to say anything. I mean, I can tell you honestly, as it stands now, you may see a child doing something wrong, but you're afraid to say something because the parents... That's right.
The parents come into fuss and treat with you.
That's
Even
right.
in the schools, teachers are afraid.
Because parents come in they put the tree canal in their waist and they're coming down for you. So the point is we have to really take a step back. And I'll tell you something. Because I think Tobago is a microcosm of the wider society, I think we can start with Tobago and let us be the example. Tobago is not lost. We can pull back Tobago. And let me tell you, I am always on fire when I speak about Tobago because I have such great faith and belief in the people of Tobago and their capabilities. I think back to history. You look back, Tobago has produced some of the best and the brightest. We produce world leaders. You think back to the achievements of A.N.R. Robinson, on the International Criminal Court. He was one of the founders there.
Yes.
You think back to a person like Victor Bruce, former governor of the Central Bank. So the point is we've always had that capacity and capability. We need to recapture that. We need to understand our past, understand our history. That is something we've lost. We must recognize that we are descended from kings and princes. We are not peasants and slaves. We are persons who, from our ancestors and our forefathers in Africa, we were rulers. Okay. When you think back to the great chiefs, and we must understand that, and we must not behave like peasants. Okay. We must not behave like bandits, going and robbing people. And that's not our destiny.
Mr. George, we haven't tackled in totality the whole question of the domestic violence issue where we see women are being slaughtered by our men. I want to come back to that, but I first want to go to the rival gangs that are marijuana peddlers. And let me just, the point I'm raising, I'm going to do this quick preamble. Not so long ago, we almost branded coconut oil illegal in Tobago. Come in, eh? I want to say that very slowly to make the point that I'm bringing. We almost labeled coconut oil, Tobago coconut oil, as illegal. You know? There was a campaign for us not to use coconut oil because it's going to destroy parts of our bodies and so on. I would be a little bit harsh in saying it in that fashion. However, the marijuana trade, as you as an attorney are wearing your bib, it means that you have a court matter in a few minutes. That is very prevalent. There's controversial, it's a very controversial topic right now when it deals with legalizing marijuana. The drug trade is as a result of a drug deal gone bad. A fella he had to get vexed, you know, to settle the score at taking your life with a gun because the gun was bought with the drugs. How dangerous is marijuana, and can marijuana be seriously considered to be legalized given what we are seeing with the murders as far as the marijuana gang turf fighting?
Right. Well, the thing is, the way I like to look at things in terms of what is our current state of the law. At present, it is a prohibited substance. It is illegal. If at some point the government decides, for whatever reason, that they wish to change that, then that's another issue. Because I tell you, for as many studies as you can find saying that, look, there are various health benefits and positives to it, you'd find just as many speaking of the negatives, you know, because I do research all the time, and you find just as many saying one thing and just as many saying the opposite.
As attorney, you know? Give me your position on that. Can you do that?
Well, in terms of as a scientific point of view, I could not.
Okay.
So therefore, I just simply go with what the law says, the state of the law. You know, it's similar to the death penalty. You know, whether someone has a view for or against it, my point is, if that remains the law, then it has to be enforced.
All right. Well, you know, I was coming to, I wanted to deal with the marijuana, then come to the domestic violence, and then come to the death penalty. Yeah. But I guess you see where the pattern is going. Obviously, being a practicing attorney. Now, all right, so you're saying that you're going on the path of the law.
Yeah.
But there is in the air, the conversation about whether we should legalize marijuana or not, whether it's for medicinal purposes, whether it's to tax or to get rid of the killing among gangs.
Well, I mean, we have even heard a call coming from as high an office as the Chief Justice in his annual address, you know, where he has suggested decriminalization of small amounts. But the point is, we must look at the purpose for which he has advocated that. He has not at all advocated it on the basis of any health benefit or whether it's good for you or, you know, these are the positives of it. He is simply looking at the clogs in the judicial system. And he is saying that, look, when you look at the number of cases, there are numerous cases where persons are there for what you consider de minimis amounts, what is commonly known in the local parlance as a 5-piece.
All right, we're coming back to the 5-piece and the stick weed, the push-up who pushing the little stick weed, and you want to hold him for that. We're going to come back. All right, folks, so we are going for a quick break, and we continue the conversation with Mr. Martin George, attorney at law. Folks, stay tuned. We'll be right back.
I have made preparation. I have faced tribulation. This is my decoration. Holy in the deep bush where I come from. Serpents and scorpions that run when they see my right hand. Fearing them for destruction. Afraid of no man and no boy and no woman, no girl and no thing. Turn up everywhere, we turn up, turn up. We turn up every night, yeah. If you don't got no money, well, don't turn up. Cause when the real bad security turn up, grab you and your friends like cattle get hurt up. Put you out the club and the promoter them say word up. All the rasta with the real Bob Marley.
All right, welcome. And we're turning it up inside Rise and Shine this morning. And for those of you on Pulse 89.5 FM, hello, we thank you for staying tuned. All right, so as Bunji said, let's turn it up. Now, we're dealing with, we're coming to the punishment that fits the crime. I have a problem with I said that the prison system needs a purge. The death penalty cannot be carried out because of what? Just talk to that quickly.
It's because of the various appeals that you have after you've exhausted your appeals in the traditional court system, in the judiciary. You have appeals to several international bodies. Because of the numerous treaties to which Trinidad and Tobago is a signatory, so you would have international bodies who now can entertain appeals from the prisoners for clemency. So the thing is, these appeals are what actually takes most of the time. And then remember, you have the Pratt and Morgan decision of the Privy Council, which said that, look, if someone is more than 5 years on death row waiting to be hung, then obviously they're saying that it's cruel and unusual. So then once the 5-year limit is passed, then you can't hang them anymore.
All right, so a criminal knows that, a fellow would-be criminal knows that. He hires a lawyer like yourself, and he says, listen, make sure this process is delayed. No, I'm not trying to
right? No. But that's exactly what happens in many
You actually
cases.
admitting that?
No. It's a fact. The point is they seek to use the system, and as is their right, I guess, if you look at it, they seek to use the system as much as possible to delay what might otherwise have been the inevitable. And that's why I applaud our current Attorney General for his initiative, because what he said, he has implemented a case tracking unit whereby he has a real-time track on all these appeals. And if you remember, in the case of Glenn Ashby, the way that hanging was carried out, it was between appeals. So in other words, one appeal had just been dismissed, and he had not yet filed another one.
Right,
and during that time, that's when the state moved and the hangman was...
All right, so let's take an individual. I don't want to point to any particular individual. However, a murder was committed yesterday. This guy was arrested. He was convicted and charged. He's charged and convicted. And he's sentenced to hang. He's fresh. He just came into the prison. The murder was about maybe a month ago. And this guy is supposed to go to the not the gas chamber, but the hangman, or the 21 steps, is that what they call it? Yes. I think that's
the gallows.
The gallows. What is preventing him, given that it was, remember, he's there only a month. What is preventing him from being executed by the state?
Because he would immediately have filed an appeal, right? Yes.
Oh, my.
That occurs, yes. Immediately file an appeal. Because remember, even the prison offers you the form for you to file the appeal. They get them in the prison.
Mr. George, let me ask you, as an attorney, and I don't want you to put your colleagues who are looking on, you're talking out with business. But I think that's why I like you, because you call a spade a spade. Do you think that is fair to the society?
Well, the thing is, you have to balance it, because I'll tell you, there is the possibility that there may be, of 100 convicted murderers, there may be one man who is innocent.
Right.
And that one man is afforded that opportunity. The others get it also. But if we remember our Bible, Jesus said, if you have 100 sheep, and if 99 go astray, but if one comes back, then he's willing to make the sacrifice for that one. And that's exactly how the system works.
All right.
So the point is, we always tend to err on the side of the rights of the individual, not forgetting or neglecting the rights of the state as an entity. But because there may be one individual there who may not have the resources, he may not have the contacts, he may not have the finances to hire a high-powered team of attorneys, so they offer that service whereby in the prison, they can get the form, they can fill it out, they can submit their appeal. So at least something is lodged on their behalf. It may be frivolous, it may not be, worth the paper it's written on, but at least they have the opportunity. And as much as society will say, look, they should not be given a chance, we must always consider, if one day one of our friends, relatives, brothers, sisters is in that position, we would be more than happy that that facility is there. So, you see, I always try to take an overall holistic view of things, because it's easy for us to take a knee-jerk reaction. Even if you look at the situation with crime in Tobago and what has been happening, a knee-jerk reaction would always be, you ask, well, what is the THA doing? What is the Assembly? That kind of thing. But people may not know the THA has already started and has embarked upon discussions and plans to do something about it. They may not have publicized it and come out, broadcasting it. But the point is, you have to take a long-term view of things. You cannot look for the quick fix, because that has been the problem in Trinidad and Tobago. Our politicians largely have fooled us with that type of behavior, thinking that, it's a quick fix. You have persons coming into the Ministry of National Security as, a gunslinger, There's no magic bullet to solve crime in Trinidad and Tobago.
Let's go to the punishment that fits the crime. You spoke to the whole question of why people cannot be hanged in this country, given the appeals that they make. I don't know how often they have to make this appeal, but for some reason, Ramesh Lawrence Maraj, as Attorney General, find a way to execute a gang and the crew.
Yes.
And we all said, hip hooray. However, that is another conversation we will have to continue.
Yes.
All right, so let's go to the fellow with the stick weed. The punishment that fits the crime. The Ivor Archie, Chief Justice, said that it doesn't make sense, and I'm paraphrasing here because I'm not using his exact words, and I'm quoting him. I'm saying what he said in my own fashion. And he said it doesn't make sense to have in remand yard a fella being held with a couple sticks of weed, waiting to be tried. Well, it may not even end up there. And it clogs the system, the prison system. Your take on a slap on the wrist versus capital punishment. Talk to us from that standpoint in treating with what Chief Justice IG alluded to when he spoke to decriminalizing marijuana.
Okay, all right. Now, as I said, he spoke purely from the aspect of the clogs in the system. And while I appreciate that, yes, you have lots of minor cases clogging the system, I am not sure that advocating a broad brush decriminalization of de minimis amounts of marijuana is necessarily the solution. What I have suggested as an alternative, and that's why you see in Trinidad and Tobago we have to start thinking outside the box. I've suggested that we create some Judge Judy type courts whereby you have persons who come. So in other words, it's agreed and accepted that, look, you are subjecting yourself to this process without attorneys. And I say this, and I mean no disrespect to my colleagues or my profession, but the point is, if you look at it, a lot of the delays in the criminal justice system occur because attorneys have many cases to do. They can't deal with this one today. They're in the midst of another one. So that contributes to the backlog. But if you look at a Judge Judy type court,
she charges you.
Basically, you appear, you have your say, they have their say, you make a decision one way or the other, you deal with it, and therefore you're able to churn out a much faster throughput of cases. So therefore, for small matters, even small petty civil matters, because the petty civil courts are clogged, you can deal with things that way and you get them off their list. Other than what you have now, where a magistrate comes in, you have 100 matters on your list. So all you end up doing is just adjourning, because by the time you go through the first matter, you call to see whether the prosecution is ready. Then the prosecution, I don't know if you know how the system works in the court, but it's almost hilarious. You have a prosecutor, he will bellow out the name of his complainant. Then that name is bellowed out by an officer at the door. Then they bellow it out at the corridor. Sometimes they get it wrong. So it's sometimes funny to hear the way the name is changing as it goes along. Right. And that's the system in 2017.
But you are saying that, and I can see the pain. So it frustrates you even to...
Of course. But listen, I can tell you, every time I go to the Scarborough Magistrates Courts, as I walk through the corridors, members of the public can attest to this, I apologize to them. First of all, the conditions there are appalling. You have persons herded like cattle, just standing up there. They don't have adequate seating facilities. They don't have proper, there's no cafeteria, nothing. It's absolutely unacceptable in this day and age that's how we are dispensing justice, and then we are saying the system is clogged, when there are so many little things that we can do to ease the frustration. Even parking. Members of the public can't get parking. Attorneys get trouble to get parking sometimes, and you wonder, how do you expect a system to function like that? And you look at it's very simple. There's a big, large, grassy area that some of it could be used for additional parking. It's not the Queen's Park Savannah where persons will come out and protest and say, well, don't pave this part of it. If you understand me, you don't have to use all of it, but simple little things can be done if one wants practical solutions.
Okay. All right. So our judicial system is a hindrance to swift justice. What does swift justice mean to you? What does it say to you? And when for example, the slaying of that young lady whose throat was slit, obviously all the nation feel the pain and the anger and so on. And you hear people calling for justice. What does swift justice mean to you, Mr. George?
Well, the thing is that swift justice would be something that, first of all, is fair. because I would never want to sacrifice fairness on the altar of expediency. In other words, as much as we are outraged and upset and annoyed, I would want, first of all, that the police do a thorough investigation, that their investigation, covers all bases, that they interview all possible suspects, rather than you just simply go and you arrest someone simply to appease the public outcry. Because we've seen that type of thing happen in the past, and it never results in quote-unquote justice at the end of the day. So we must always approach things with a measured, calm response, regardless of the circumstances. As I've always told people, I said, listen, no matter how desperate the circumstances are, you must never act in desperation. You must always retain that calm and control, so that at the end of the day, what your end result produces is something that can stand the test of time.
Very good. All right, so we have a few more minutes, and I want us to take, while you're on me, because he needs to mop a little bit. I see him sweating. I don't know if it's the first time I've seen you being interviewed by a number of people, but the first time I've seen you sweat. So apparently something is happening in this conversation. Yes, all right. But all right, so we have pointed to a number of contributing factors that, we are coming to this point now, that criminals may feel, given the explanation you gave, that they're not hanging people. I could always appeal, and after appeal, and live forever in that system. Because the system provides that for him. He could be as guilty as sin. We know he committed the crime. He's sentenced to hang, but he cannot hang because this system is in place. How do we buffer that? How do we make the adjustment? Because we had Abu Bakr here on air. And I said to him, how does he feel about 1990? After 1990, we saw murders and all the mayhem took place after that.
That was the defining moment in the history of Trinidad and Tobago.
You agree?
I always say that.
Very good.
We went downhill from there and have never recovered.
So you agree that punishment must fit the crime. Treason is the most heinous crime across the world. It's punishable by death up to today. And we are being threatened every Monday morning and so on. However, how do we get to making it work to appease and to bring justice? Remember, I asked you to you define justice from that standpoint. But how do we bring justice to the grieving family? That child whose parents and grandparents and siblings are hurting as a result of the life snuffed away from her by somebody who believed they had the right to do that.
Okay, I'll give you an example. In Britain, they have a victims support unit where they counsel victims, they counsel the families of victims. And I have a friend who went through the process, and they call every day with updates. They let you know the status of the investigation. They let you know, who they have interviewed, who they have brought in, all those things. So therefore, at least the family gets that respect, that they feel, look, something is being done, and these people respect me enough to notify me and inform me of what is happening. I have seen too often in Trinidad and Tobago, our police take the opposite approach. We can't tell you anything. That is confidential. That is a matter of national security. Up to yesterday, I think I heard it at a press conference, And I am not sure that I necessarily agree with that approach, because you see all over the world, police services are becoming more transparent in the way they do things. You look at in the US, how it occurs. Something happens, the police chief is out there, he's explaining to the public, he's giving a press conference, he's giving the details of the investigation. He's saying, look, we had 3 persons interviewed, So I'm not sure why we in Trinidad and Tobago feel that we must take this clandestine approach whereby you're telling the public, you can't tell them anything, you are doing, you make it seem that you're in charge and you're on top of things, and yet still we've not seen the results. You look at the detection rate, it's abysmally poor. So therefore, it's not even to say that by you taking this covert clandestine approach, you're producing results. So then you may as well tell us and come out and level with us.
Policing is very critical.
It is extremely critical.
Yes, because we need
I've
to resolve.
always said.
All right, Mr. George, we got to go. We have morning news. Hello, you have to, Mr. We want to continue this conversation.
We need more time for this.
All right, thank you, Mr. George. And hey, people, I'm not afraid to ask the tough questions. That's what I do here. Hey, folks, we go for the break. The morning news is up next. After we come back, we give you more. Stay tuned.
Not just any kind of girl, must have plenty energy. It's a start within she, and when she start to jam, I giving she all I mean, I giving she all.